What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Rumpier Sports Hardwood show here for January 1st. First one of the show. We got a nice 10-game slate. And, my normal co-host, Mr. Big T, I don't know. He's out today. I don't know if he pulled a hammy or something on the workbench last night, but he's not going to be here. My boy AP is. Welcome to the show. How's it going today?
It's going good, man. Our guy, Sean G, just has me cracking up. I needed a reinforced workbench. Took home a big girl last night.
Yeah, I mean that's front
that guy some gear. That's the show off, right?
Yeah, that's front runner for gear. I mean, if we can get those likes up, I mean that guy's in the driver's seat. But there's a lot of show to go, and I'm sure we'll get some good takes along the way. You dive into these slates super early in the morning. You handle our playbook over at Rumpier Sports, one of our finest piece of content. What's your overall thoughts on the slate?
Yeah, I mean, as we were talking right before this, I think it's a phenomenal slate. We got 10 games. I think we have a bunch of games that we can just cross off. We have a lot of games that are just really, tasty, as Big T says, from a pace standpoint. Hawks, Nets. We got the Wizards, Timberwolves. I think there's just, a lot of really nice spots that we can attack.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, about 5 games that have a total of 230 and higher, and that makes for an appealing DFS slate. So we have a ton of plays. We have some value as well. A little bit of news that we're still waiting for. LaMarcus Aldridge, I think, he's still questionable. That's probably the most important news. If he's out, a guy like DeRozan would get a big boost, which we saw last time, and he's still pretty cheap, especially on DK at 7.3K. Maybe we'll get that news during the show. I believe we did last time. Anything else before we just hop into these games?
How about the man? He took down 100K again last night. I think that's 200K wins in the last week or so. Incredible. And I think we're going to get another one tonight. I'm really confident with the slate. I feel really good about some of the guys I'm on. So
I remember the man took down. It wasn't back to back, but 200K wins. I know, like in the last week. So he's feeling good. Good start to the new year for him. As always, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll give away a piece of gear if we hit our like benchmark number, which will be determined in maybe like 10 minutes or so after the second game. We'll figure out how many likes in order to give away a piece of gear. As always, head on over to Rumpier Sports as well. Right now, it's a good time to become a member. We have all the sports going. NFL playoffs. We have a nice plan for our NBA product. Has I think been pretty on point. We made some changes early on to the playbook. We made some changes. Added this new cash worksheet. Basically, it's the cash player pool that Mangone and myself kind of put together. And it's just all the guys that we think are in play for cash games. These would typically be your best value plays, your best bargain plays, your best spends. Everything's kind of listed there. We highlight the guys that we think are cores. You can use it, obviously, for cash games, but GPPs as well. If I always just bring up the example, if you're a contrarian type player and you're good at finding the contrarian pieces, in NBA, you don't need to go completely off the reservation at every spot. Like, you can play the chalk. So if you want to know where the chalk is, you head on over that cash sheet, boom, boom, boom. You can kind of see it's broken down by position. So head on over to Rumpier Sports and check it out all in one price. I always talk about it on the show. A lot of these other sites, they're kind of gouging you at each turn. Each time a new sport starts up, they say, I want, $250 for this sport, $350 for that sport, add on this, add on that. Our price for a DFS product, $80, gets you everything on the site, including Showdown. You can add on the lineup HQ optimizer as well. But it's an all-in-one price if you want bets. I know you've been doing really well with the NBA bets over there. It's just $20 add-on. So $100, you get DFS and our sports betting product as well. All right, let's hop into it. The first game on the slate. We have the Celtics, we have the Pistons, and, it's not a very appealing game from a DFS perspective. We do have some news here. Blake Griffin is going to be out in this game, and that's a boost to a few guys. Killian Hayes is questionable too. Josh Jackson's been playing well. This Sadiq Bey, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name, but he's 3.1K on DK. And he'll be starting here tonight. I think he's interesting. On the Boston side, it's kind of hard because, their guys, they're up there. Tatum's over 8K on DK. Jaylen Brown's over 8K. And I just feel like the other, upper tier guys are just in better spots. So for me, I'll kind of give the cash game perspective, and you can kind of give the GPP perspective. It works out well. Our styles contrast each other perfectly. So for cash games, the only guys I see in this game that I think are in play would be Bay at 3.1K as a full punt. Josh Jackson, the price has come up a little bit. Maybe him, maybe Mason Plumlee, but I'm not really touching the Celtics, and I'm just looking to these Pistons guys for value. Does that kind of differ for you in tournaments at all today?
No, I mean, I'm kind of on the same page as you. I mean, Josh Jackson has been a guy that we've been on. My problem with him today, his price has come up a little bit. If the matchup, like if we had a good matchup, like against the Hawks or the Grizzlies or one of these other teams, I would like him. The problem is this Boston team plays really good defense. They can throw. Yeah. They could throw Marcus Smart at him. They could throw Jaylen Brown. I mean, two really elite defenders. And then you add Tatum in there. They got a ton of length. And, man, we could see a game where Josh Jackson, takes we could see him take 15 shots, and we could just see him struggle. So I'm not forcing him into my lineups at all. I will have a little bit of exposure to him just because I did run a few builds where he fits kind of nicely. Otherwise, I'm pretty much off this game. Yeah. If Killian Hayes gets ruled out, you could always play DeLon Wright. Even if Killian Hayes plays, he's really struggled, so you could still play DeLon Wright off the bench. Otherwise, I'm not really forcing anything from this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's some really good games that we're going to talk about as the show goes on. As I mentioned in the opening, there's 5 games with a 230 total or above, and that's kind of where you're going to want to focus most of your attention. Next game, we have the Grizzlies, we have the Hornets. The total 220.5. Hornets favored by 4.5. On the Grizzlies side, obviously Morant's out. Grayson Allen was in line for a bigger role last game. He gets hurt. He'll be out. Opens up some value on the Grizzlies side. This Desmond Bane dude should play about 30 minutes. I think it just stabilizes Tyus Jones' role. He has a nice price tag on DK at 5.1K, 5.7, I believe, on FanDuel. The price tags are finally coming up, though, on the other dudes. Like Dylan Brooks is up. Kyle Anderson is up. Valanciunas is up to 8.3 on DK. Brandon Clark should be in for a pretty stable role. Better price on FanDuel. He's 4.6K. On the Hornets side, Devontae Graham continues to have a nice FanDuel price tag, 6.1K. Not paying the premium for Terry Rozier. Still, that big game is kind of baked into his price. On DK, I think Gordon Hayward's in play. Small forward, pretty weak. I mean, there's not a lot of options. I mean, we have a lot of good overall options. None of them happen to be at small forward. So Gordon Hayward, 7.1K. I think he's fine. PJ Washington kind of screwed a lot of dudes. Last time out, didn't have a big game. We had 2 really good games in a row, then kind of laid an egg last time out. So for me, overall, in this game, Bane, I think, is a value play. Tyus Jones is a fringe play. And like I said, Devontae Graham on FanDuel, Gordon Hayward on DK. Is there anything else for you in this game?
Yeah, it's a good mention that on DraftKings, small forward is a weak position. And that's why, when I mentioned Josh Jackson fitting into one of my builds, it's because it's a weak position. At first, when I was looking at the cash sheet, I'm like, oh, man, Gordon Hayward at top of the small forward position. But, yeah, it makes sense. Since there aren't a lot of options there. When I look at this game and when you look at the Hornets front court, for the Grizzlies to keep this close, Jonas Valanciunas really needs to have a big game. I think he could get a ton of easy buckets in the paint. But, man, you look at this roster on the Grizzlies side, I don't see how they're going to score 100 points. Where's the scoring going to come from? Like Dylan Brooks without Ja Morant out there has just really struggled. Hasn't looked good at all. I do have a ton of interest in Brandon Clark. He kind of let me down last game, but he didn't. He put up 24 DraftKings points. I had him for 30+. I like him again in this matchup. He's someone I'll have more exposure to. So I see this game going a few different routes. Like if it blows out, we could see like a ton of run from Brandon Clark. We could see a ton of run from Gorgie Jang. He was the guy I was on last time, and he ended up putting up 30 DraftKings points. So yeah. I don't love it. It's an extremely thin, fringe play. Overall, I want to be under on this game. The problem with the Hornets side that I see is, man, they have a pretty wide rotation. We saw it last time. A lot of our guys were on PJ Washington, which, yeah, he's a fine play. He gets to play the 5 a lot. I think that's a really bad matchup for him, assuming, we're going to see a lot of Jonas Valanciunas. I mean, I think PJ Washington will get destroyed at the 5 by him if they went that route. And so I don't want to force anything into this spot, and I'm unders on the game. I don't see how this game comes close to 220. So it's definitely one of the bets I'm on. I'm under. The one guy I will say is this John Conchar guy. So we talk about small forward, how weak it is. You could completely punt with him at 3.2K. I think he's going to get 26 minutes. He's just going to be forced into that role. He's not good or anything like that. But, man, he was taking a couple shots. He was getting a couple rebounds and assists this last game against Boston. So he's a guy I might look at in a full punt-type build. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Last question on this game. Any LaMelo Ball? I know a lot of people were kind of hyped about him last game. Big performance. Any interest in tournaments?
Yeah, I feel like it's chasing, but look, the matchup's good. So like I feel like he's going to be maybe a little bit higher owned. I do feel like it's a chase. I'm probably going to be off just because I don't know. I feel like he's going to let people down more often than not. So yeah. But still, the price tag's low. I get it in tournaments. If he comes out lower owned, then yeah. But still, we have a lot of really good point guards on DraftKings, and I don't really want to waste a spot on LaMelo Ball when we have Kyrie, when we have, we'll get to all the elite spots.
Point guards absolutely loaded, and going to the next game, there's one that's has to be in the conversation. It's been a rough go so far for Luka, and in this game here, the Heat, the Mavericks, it's basically a toss-up game. Heat favored by 1, total 222.5, but man, it has not gone well for Luka out of the gate. Hasn't had the big fantasy performances that we saw last season. Complete dud last time out against Charlotte, finished with 24.5 fantasy points. They got spanked. This is, I guess, a topic of its own. What do you do with Luka here? There's talks about his conditioning's not fully there. The price is down a little bit on DK. Is 11th or 10-3 on the DK is around 11K. I think higher than 11K on FanDuel. I don't think I can really consider him here, but 10-3 on DK. Any interest in Luka?
If it was a different matchup, I for sure would have interest in him. I got to hand it to Big T. I was laughing at him when he was talking about how Luka sucks. And he was talking about his recent form. Obviously Luka doesn't suck. Maybe Big T thinks that. Who knows? He's had crazier takes. Yes. But again, the problem with Luka in this matchup is the Heat. They have so much length, so much size. If you think about Luka's game, part of it is just getting into the paint and getting those easy buckets or getting a foul. You got Bam, one of the better rim protectors and defenders in there. They could throw Iggy in there. We got Jimmy Butler back. You have this team that's very elite defensively, and then you got a guy who's struggling with his three-point shot. I think he's made 2 3-pointers of 21 attempts to start the season. Yeah. So if he's not hitting his 3-ball against this team, he could struggle again getting inside. If he's low owned, it's Luka. He's 10-3. I get it. But, man, we have some tasty spots on the slate. My hope, I almost wish he was 9.7 to get his ownership really high, because I see a lot of really good pivots that I like.
Yeah, there was video. He was working on his game after the last game. He had a lot of time, obviously, because they got absolutely blown out. I don't know. I think he's interesting for tournaments, but the problem is it's tough because, man, some of these guys are in some really good spots that we're about to touch on, and you're going to sacrifice playing one of those guys to play Luka. So I can see it both ways. The rest of the Mavericks, I have no interest. There's no one else I'd really play on the Maverick side. On the Heat side, Jimmy Butler comes back, and that's obviously pretty sizable downgrade to just about everyone on the Heat roster. The one guy that I will continue to play, more on on FanDuel opposed to DK is Tyler Hero. I mean, he's just looked like an absolute stud, just phenomenal player, ball handling, getting to the basket, shooting. I mean, played so well against the Bucks in those 2 games. Price is up on DK. I don't think I can pay the 6.5 for him on this slate, but on FanDuel at 5.3K, I think he's back firmly in play.
Yeah, I agree with you on Tyler Hero that I mean, on DraftKings, you can't really play him, in my opinion, with Jimmy back. But yeah, on FanDuel, I mean, he's cheap. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I will say the Mavericks, we got Josh Richardson. We talk about that small forward position. He's small forward eligible. I do have some interest in him just because he's 4.9K. He's going to get the minutes. He's coming off a game where he was 1 for 10 shooting, couldn't hit a three-pointer at all. And, I mean, I feel like he's a guy that could get us, around 24. And at that small forward position, I mean, you might take that with a guy that's 4.9K today.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, small forward is weak, which we talked about, which is crazy because this slate is just loaded up. And that's the thing that kind of bothers me about like the multiple position eligibility stuff on DK. It's like some of the guys that clearly should have it don't, and some that do just obviously shouldn't. It seems like there's no consistency. And on a slate like this, where there's clearly like a ton of wing players, and to have none of them with small forward eligibility is just a little bit odd. But with Jimmy Butler back, I can't imagine really, like I said, playing anyone outside of Tyler Hero on FanDuel. Is there anything else that you're seeing on the Heat side?
No, I mean, like it seems like the Heat guys on DraftKings are priced, assuming that like Jimmy Butler wasn't going to play today. So yes, I am definitely off that side.
Yep. All right, now we're on to a very, very appealing game. The Hawks, the Nets, the total 240, essentially 245. And the Nets favored by 6. And, we saw this game a couple nights ago. We knew if it stayed close, there would be some big fantasy performances, and they didn't let us down. I mean, Kevin Durant, massive game. John Collins, massive game. Kyrie couldn't hit a shot and somehow still finished with like 40-some fantasy points. He was – I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was like 11 for 27 or something crazy. Like just couldn't hit any shots, especially in the first half. Still gets to 40 fantasy points. That just tells you how juicy this game is if it stays close. I mean, the Hawks have a good enough roster where I think we can kind of, get the same game we got a few nights ago. I mean, a back and forth battle. They scored, I think, around 280 actual points. Yep. Guys like Kyrie, guys like Durant, Trey, John Collins finally had his big game. A lot of dudes in play here. How are you sorting out this game? And I mean, which dudes are your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, this was a game we on Wednesday pounded the over, and man, it hit easily. And yeah, Kyrie was 10 for 27, couldn't hit a three-pointer. A bunch of them went like in and out. They were like halfway down and popped out. And look, he had like 11 fantasy points at halftime, and he finished with 41. Like this dude has massive upside. And here's what I'm doing. Like, I mean, if you're not comfortable with anything on the slate, lock in Kevin Durant, lock in Kyrie Irving, and move on. I just think they're underpriced for the matchup, for the expected pace, for their team total, for their usage on their team. I mean, we have Dinwiddie who's gone. So, I mean, it's going to be more scoring usage for Kyrie, for Kevin Durant. And then we got Karis LeVert who comes in off the bench. But still, assuming this game stays close, which I think it will because Trae Young's playing. DeAndre Hunter is confirmed to be playing, I believe. Yeah. And look, on the Hawks side, they had no answer for John Collins. I know John Collins can be frustrating, but, man, they had literally no answer for him. And he's 7.2K. It's definitely interesting. I stacked this game up on Wednesday going Trae Young, Kyrie, Kevin Durant. I cashed, but I needed more from Kyrie to get me over the top. And today, I don't know if I can go the Trae Young, Kyrie, Durant route. I'm far more confident in Kevin Durant and Kyrie because for some reason, like if you look at Trae's rotation, this guy is like, I don't know why he's not getting 35 minutes at least. I mean, he's a young guy. They can't be worried about conditioning. Like there's very few players that are more conditioned than Trae Young. But he's getting like right around 31 to 33. We've seen one game against Memphis where he got 35. Yeah. If I knew he was getting like maybe 35, 36 tonight, I could definitely justify playing him. But honestly, the only way I could play Trae Young is if I do either Kyrie and Durant plus Trae Young. I don't know if I can do all three. So.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and maybe it has something to do with the roster. I mean, a guy like Bogdanovich, obviously, coming over, maybe they want him to have some of those ball handling responsibilities. And yeah, I mean, you need at his price tag, you need him to play into the mid 30s, and it's just not happening for some reason. I mean, Kevin Durant is by far my favorite play, I think, on DraftKings overall. He was 8-4 the other night. That was criminally low. He's 9-1 tonight. I think that's still criminally low. He looks phenomenal. I mean, it just looks like the same old Kevin Durant, and, his situation now on this Nets team is even better. So I think he's just way too cheap. I think this could be one of the last chances to get him under 10K or, in that upper 9 range. The price, I think, is going up. It's a good buy low spot for him. Kyrie Irving, great spot as well. I mean, like we said, he had 40-some fantasy points and couldn't hit a shot. If he hits a shot, he's going for over 50. And, he just has to 11 for 20, 10 for 27, like you said. And still got to that 40 fantasy point marker. It's very impressive. You can take a look at some of these secondary dudes like Joe Harris. I think he's better on FanDuel. He's cheaper. I agree with you on John Collins. I think that 7.2K on DK is interesting. And then on FanDuel, he's 7K flat. Power forward's pretty weak. I think he's firmly in the conversation over there again. Anything else in this game?
I will say, man, like Jared Allen in tournaments, I do have some interest. I mean, he's way better than DeAndre Jordan, at least offensively. And if and he's going to be low owned. This is someone that JSU was on a couple games ago, and we're starting to see his minutes tick up. It makes a lot more sense to have him down there in the paint. He's a good shot blocker, good rim protector, and he's good at grabbing boards. So 5,800, he's definitely a tournament play. But man, with this pace, with the easy buckets that he can get in the paint, he definitely has double upside with a couple blocks.
Yeah, and he's clearly more valuable than DeAndre Jordan on the court. And you can see he's starting to take. I mean, the minutes for Jordan are on the way down. I mean, you look at the reason.
Like Jordan's only getting minutes because he's boys with Kyrie and KD. So I mean,
yes, that's only going to take him so far. And I mean, Allen is just clearly the better fit with those guys at this point. In DeAndre Jordan's career, it's just he's on the way out. A guy like Jared Allen is on the way up. So. For tournaments, I do like that call as well. Just to tie it up for cash games like Kyrie, Durant, John Collins firmly in play. Like I said, Joe Harris on FanDuel is pretty cheap. And the Hawks, though, it is kind of tough, man, because they have such a deep roster, so many guys that can contribute. So I'd say for cash games, probably only like John Collins. But big total here. If it stays close, you're going to see some big fantasy point performances. All right, we're right around 300 people. Let's get up to 150 likes, 150 likes, and we'll give away a piece of gear so we can send Tony over there to FedEx to ship it out for you. So, get to 150, and we'll pick somebody and hand out some gear. Another thing I wanted to mention is we have a promo going right now with Monkey Knife Fight. It is a $50 deposit match. So you deposit $50, you use the promo code RUNPEER at checkout, and you get the $50 match. Make sure to become a member at Run Peer Sports. Join our Discord community. We have a channel dedicated to Monkey Knife Fight picks. Put a couple in there this morning for this weekend, which I think were like locks. If you get in there, I don't know if they're still available on the site. They move pretty quick. But, check it out. Monkey Knife Fight, promo code RUNPEER. All right, head on over to the next game at Lakers, Spurs, the total right around 230. Lakers favored by 6.5. And, we're waiting on the news here as to whether or not LaMarcus Aldridge plays. He was out last game. DeMar DeRozan had a pretty solid game at a reasonable price tag. The price came up on DeMar a little bit, 7.3K, but he's at that position that we've talked about, shooting small forward, not a very good one on the slate. It would be nice to go ahead and lock in a guy like DDR if LaMarcus Aldridge is out. We should get the news. I mean, the Spurs have been pretty good with getting the news out ahead of time. So I'm guessing even before these games lock on the East Coast, I'm guessing we have the news. If LaMarcus is out, are you willing to go back to a guy like Pirtle or DeMar DeRozan, or who else do you think gets a pretty big boost here for the Spurs?
Yeah, I was just looking at the playbook, and if Aldridge plays and LeBron plays, I'm all the way off this game. It's one of them. I'm just crossing off. It's a 10-game slate. You definitely have to do that with games, and there's a lot of mouths to feed. Definitely not playing anyone on the Lakers side. DeMar DeRozan, yeah, I would have interest in him at the small forward position on DraftKings. He got a slight price increase, but $7,300 for a guy that is really starting to pick up his game in the area of peripheral stats, more so like assists and rebounds. It's going to give him, semi triple-double upside. We haven't really seen it yet this year, but, he's hit 10, 8, 9 assists. He had 6 last game. Yeah. It's a tough matchup, though. So, how I'm approaching it, unless we get some news, and even if we get some news, I've been trying to avoid these Lakers games. They're good defensively. They don't necessarily like to push the pace. We saw DeJounte Murray have a really good game. I don't think I'm going to go back to him. I feel like that's chasing. He was incredibly efficient last game, 63% field goal percentage. And his shooting is better this year. I'll give him that. It's a 10-game slate. I don't want to force it in spots like this.
Yeah, and it looks like, is Derek White back or no? I'm not sure on that, but with the
he is. Derek White's in.
Yeah, Derek White is back, so a little more
and he's
caution.
Priced up.
Yeah, he's priced up.
You can't play him.
Yeah, I can't play him, and obviously that's a little bit of a hit to DeJounte Murray. On the Lakers side, to me, it just seems like they're kind of coasting, and they play good defense. They're not LeBron, AD. They're just coasting when they're out there. Just a good team, I think, to avoid for DFS unless we get one of these guys out. Unless LeBron sits or AD sits, I just don't see myself going to the Lakers all that often. I'm pretty sure you're kind of on the same page with that, right?
Yeah, one of the problems is Dennis Schroeder is not like a distributor. He's a guy that wants to score buckets. Yeah. And so that's what we're seeing right now. Because if you look at Anthony Davis, why is he sucking fantasy-wise? It's because he's not taking as many shots as we saw last year, because he has guys like Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, who's been playing much better, and Dennis Schroeder that's just all taking away offensive usage from guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron. So easy fades in my opinion, and we can kind of move on.
Yeah. We talk about it all the time. They're one of these teams where we're going to need an injury or someone to rest before we're going to consider, because now they're priced up too. It's not like early on in the season you're getting Schroeder for a nice discount. Like they got his price up there. Harrell, his price is up there. So yeah, it's not a team that is going to be fantasy friendly when they're at full strength. Next game, we have the Bucks. We have the Bulls. The total is 233.5, and the Bucks are just massive favorites. The Bulls on a back-to-back here. Bucks at home, 14.5-point favorites. Makes it hard, man, for DFS to really take a hard look at these guys. Giannis finally had that big game last time out. But the way things are going right now in the NBA with these, it just seems like just so many blowouts, massive blowouts. I'm having a hard time investing in this game outside of a couple plays. The one I think is interesting and a good play. Otto Porter is still really cheap on FanDuel. Markkanen's going to be out. I think he's in play. And I think Thaddeus Young is in play he's 3.5 on DK, and he's 3.7 on FanDuel. I think those guys are the guys I'm going to target here. Outside of that, I'm going to have very limited exposure to this game. Does that differ at all in tournaments for you?
No, I'm kind of on the same path. Look, like the Bulls were had a nice win over the Wizards. They swept them in their little 2-game series, and I mean, man, like in that game they were running. I mean, it was a back and forth, high scoring affair. And look, they got Laurie out, Thomas Satoransky's out, Hutchinson's out. They have a ton of injuries. So, man, I don't see how they keep it close. The guy, I'm with you, like Thaddeus Young, 3.5K. He's going to get run. Like, you don't need like blowout risk for him isn't a big concern for me because you don't need him to do much. You need him to get in there, get his 20, 25 minutes, and he's going to get it done at 3.5K for you. If you somehow think the Bulls are able to keep this close, it's going to be because a guy like Zach LaVine had a big game and kept them in it scoring wise, or it's going to be a guy like Otto Porter is creating a lot of offense from defense. So getting those steals, blocks. If somehow those guys can have big games and maybe Kobe White, then sure, like a stack could work. But there's like no way I'm paying $11K for Giannis on this slate. If he plays 24 minutes, which is what we've seen him play in a blowout, I mean, he's not going to get it done to pay off an $11K price tag. The one guy, I think there's two guys you can make an argument for on the Bucks side. Drew Holiday is still cheap, 6.6K. I don't love it, but look, we saw Drew do it just the other day. He put up 49 in 26 minutes, and his price tag's still cheap. The other guy, Bobby Portis, this has been their garbage time hero, getting a ton of run and soaking up all the garbage time minutes. He's a guy I have a ton of interest in just because he's 4.5K. I'm not like forcing him in, and he's definitely a tournament play. But, man, he's, I think, already, he has 2 30-plus games already, and he's still
impressive. Good. Very impressive. Just to circle back real quick, LaMarcus Aldridge just officially ruled out. I had a feeling we were going to get it on the show. We got it on the show. I like DeRozan quite a bit on DK now. Anything else for you?
Yeah, I mean, so here's how I handle that. I love using lineup HQ with our projections, and I even take it a step further. I bump up all the guys I like. The guys I don't like, I bump them down off of our projections. So I kind of create my own bias projections. I'm going to go and bump DeMar DeRozan up a little bit, and I'm going to run a few different runs to see kind of what my own optimal is and work from there.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to do. And plus, if you are using the optimizers, make sure you put some of your input in there as well, because if you're just going off the straight numbers that the sites even that we give you, you're going to get the same build as a lot of different people. So make sure you're putting a little bit of your own input in as well. It's definitely something that's very important. Next game, man, it's another banger. We got the Wizards, we got the Timberwolves. The total is 234. Minnesota favored by 1.5. No Russell Westbrook, no Karl Anthony Towns, and this game, big total, close spread. It's pretty much everything you want for DFS. Obviously, Bradley Beal gets a huge boost. Raul Neto will start, and he played really well last time he drew a start. Thomas Bryant had a big game last night. On the Timberwolves side, Ricky Rubio's going to start, cheap price tag. D'Angelo Russell, pretty fair price tag, really good matchup here. Culver, Naz Reid. We have some plays here. We have a lot of plays. I think there's probably 6 or 7 dudes that are in play in cash games and tournaments. This game should be a lot of fun. Neither team plays much defense. What's your take here on this game?
Yeah, just to circle back with the optimizer thing, here's one thing I did in this game. I put Raul Neto, I put his projection at 30. That's going to, at 3.4K, it's going to force him into all of my lineups. So I don't have to worry about anything else. I know he's going to be in there. And I do not get the idea of fading this guy. People in Discord were talking about it last time, let's fade him against Orlando. But they have very few backup point guards. You got Ish Smith. And then if you think of true ball handlers, it's him, Bradley Beal, and Ish Smith. No one else. I mean, Troy Brown is not a proven ball handler. Jerome Robinson, they're not giving him minutes. These are guys that have to work off the ball, and they want Beal working off the ball too. So I think Neto is going to see big minutes. I think he's a lock for like 28, if not more. I have a ton of interest in him, a ton of interest in Bradley Beal. I think people are going to chase Thomas Bryant, who looked incredible last game, and it's a good matchup. So I get it. I'm keeping his projection kind of in line with what we've seen, so I'm not giving him a bump. I don't necessarily want to chase there. I'll let other people chase. But the guys I definitely like on the Wizards side are Neto and Beal. And then, man, I mean, if you think of the Wolves side, we're going to see a back-and-forth game. This Wolves rotation kind of gets frustrating at times. You got to figure, like, if D'Angelo Russell's going to go off, this is such a good scoring environment for him to do so. The other guy who's taking a ton of shots that is going to go overlooked is Malik Beasley, a guy I just like his game. I didn't think it was good for Denver to get rid of him. He's definitely a hooper. And he's coming off a game where he struggled to score. So yeah. I know he's going to put up double-digit shot attempts here. And I think he's a guy that could get us like 33 plus. Be pretty low owned, but man, love the spot for Russell. Ricky Rubio, I wanted to ask you about him. Like, it's a name I'm not real excited about him on this team because you have a guy like D'Angelo Russell that likes the ball in his hand. I mean, what are you doing with Rubio specifically on DraftKings in this game?
I think he's in play. I mean, the one issue is like the minutes, and the concern that D'Angelo Russell will potentially, take some of that ball handling responsibility. Because if you're playing Rubio, you want him to be the point guard, you want him to be the distributor, and with Russell out there is some concern that that might not be the case. I mean, I still like Rubio at his price. He got off to a really good start last game. They were playing the Clippers. I believe that turned into a blowout, and he was playing really well. And so I think he can get 30 minutes in a close game. And if he gets 30 minutes in a close game, 5.2 is too cheap. So I definitely have interest in him. I believe the price tag on FanDuel is 5.2 as well. So I think he's a strong play. He looked good. He was playing well. And then that blowout hit against the Clippers, and he didn't get any run in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So here's just another thing that I do and how I use the optimizer. I'm not a 150 max guy at all, but I like to see different build textures. So like I'll run a build where I put Ricky Rubio maybe slightly under his projection, and then I'll bump it by 5 or 6 points to see if it changes the dynamics of my build. Maybe it's forcing a different big in there. Maybe it's getting me off of one of these other elite guards that I was originally prioritizing into my lineup. But, I'm still he could, like, if he really gets going, he could definitely crush me. Like if he gets a few steals like right away and a block and then starts racking up the assists, gets a couple rebounds, you're going to want him at 5.2K. I kind of want to prioritize D'Lo, and then Naz Reid I got interest in as well. Yeah. He let everyone down. I mean, do you think he's going to be pretty popular today, or
I think so? Okay. Yeah. I think he'll be popular. The game was a blowout, and a lot of people busted in it. This game is not projected to be a blowout. So, if he gets upper 20s, 30 minutes against the Wizards, he's going to smash.
Yeah. It's a guy that had, multiple big games last year in spots like this. So I definitely agree.
What about Culver?
Yeah. Are you able to play him as a small forward on DraftKings?
No, he's power forward. That's one of the guys I was talking about. Like, he's clearly should have small forward eligibility too. Does not. It just seems like there's, I don't know, for some reason, only power forward, which is tough because Kevin Durant's only power forward. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that have just power forward. Thaddeus Young, only power forward. So kind of frustrating with a guy like Culver, but I think he's a fine play. He's cheap on FanDuel too. Should play close to 30 minutes. If this game stays close, which it should, he's going to have a pretty big role here, I think.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this lineup, and Thomas Bryant is definitely in play. I don't think the Timberwolves really have anyone that could step in there and give him struggles. So elite game stack spot, Neto, Beal, Thomas Bryant. Here's the other thing I got to say on the Wizards. I talk about Davis Bertans. I love watching this guy stroke threes. His shot is so pure. But look, this dude sucks at rebounding. he's kind of awkward, and he's still trying. Like Russell Westbrook wasn't even looking his way the other day, and so I think he's still trying to find his spot on this new team. Maybe he has more success today with Neto kind of running things instead of Westbrook. Who knows? I'm not necessarily going there because he's still 5'2". He's sharing time with Rui Hashimura. I don't think he's a guy we need to force in, but man, I love his jump shot. I think it's one of the more pure ones.
Yeah, I mean, when he's stroking out there, it's fun to watch because, I mean, he pulls up from deep, and there's not many dudes that look like him that are pulling up from like that deep. So, yeah, when he's on, it's fun to watch, but it just hasn't been the right fit so far, honestly. He just
can't
really
rebound. He has no size to him at all. It's painful to watch.
Yeah. All right. Next game, we have the Suns. We have the Nuggets. The total 220.5. Nuggets favored by 3.5. And I mean, the big news kind of out of nowhere today. Michael Porter Jr. going to miss some time, and that's big. I mean, that's big for the Nuggets. He's looked phenomenal, obviously, as of late, and has some big scoring games. Last time out, 30 real life points. It's a void that's going to have to be filled. And Jokic obviously has been phenomenal himself, but he hasn't been scoring all that much, and it's been more passing, and he's been, I mean, obviously really, really good, but they're going to have to pick up the scoring. I mean, where does it come from? Is it Jamal Murray? Is it Barton? Barton should play more minutes here. Is it Millsap? Like, how are you handling this Nuggets team now that Porter Jr. is going to be out tonight, and it sounds like a few additional games as well?
Yeah, I mean, talk about running Pier this morning. The total came out as 225. We hammered the under. Because, look, the Suns are playing at the slowest pace out of any team in the league. I mean, they are a far different team than we are used to seeing with Chris Paul, but not even him, like Jay Crowder and then Mikal Bridges. Like, those guys are nasty defenders, and they're playing at a different pace. And so and then after we hammered the under, the MPJ news comes out to make it even sweeter, and now the total's 220. I still think it could go under this number. I think the scoring has to come from Jamal Murray. I think he's gonna. I think he really needs to pick it up, and I like him on DraftKings at 6.7K. Look, we saw this guy. He's almost like the type that you need a big time matchup for him to show us stuff, and he gets that now. He gets it against Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and so I don't know. I mean, I think we could see so. Even though I'm on the under, Jamal Murray at 6'7" is just way too cheap. I think he could definitely smash this price tag. I got him coming in at around 40 DraftKings points. That's I think that's where I adjusted his projection to. And it's going to try to force him into a lot of my builds as well. And so I'm off Jokic, just a slower paced game. I don't think we're going to see, running up and down the floor. And that's where he's getting a lot of his easy peripheral stats as well. But look, this guy's playing at an MVP level. I think Big T put couple future bets in on him, and so you could definitely play him. Like, you could definitely play him over Luka if you're spending up. I don't think I'm going to get there. I'm under on this game. I do like Jamal Murray though, and then the Suns side, they're tough to play right now. Devin Booker, like DraftKings, continues to keep his price pretty sky high relative to what he's doing. It is starting to come down, but man, he hasn't even topped 40 DK points yet. I'm off of him. If anything, I would go like Chris Paul and pair it with Jamal Murray, but still, it's probably just Murray for me.
It's a tough team for fantasy. I mean, in the past, we'd always look to the Suns because they'd get involved in these shootouts and big fantasy performances. They're a different team. They're a different team this year. It impacts them and it impacts who they're playing against. And I'm with you. One other guy I wanted to bring up was Will Barton, likely to step into the starting role without MPJ. He's cheap on FanDuel. He's 5K. On DK, he's 5.5K. I think he probably plays around 30 minutes tonight. Any interest in Barton?
No, I'm probably going to be off him. He just had, if it was 2 years ago, I would definitely be interested in Will Barton. We haven't seen it from him yet this year. MPJ has been way better. And I wonder if Monty Morris or PJ Dozier, or if one of these guys sneaks in to the rotation, if like a guy like Will Barton or Gary Harris, if they're struggling. It has to be Will Barton who would come out, and we'd see like a Murray, Harris, Monty Morris, Paul Millsap, Jokic. rotation. But I'm definitely off Barton here.
Yeah. All right. Next game. Before we get into that, you guys got about 340 watching. We said we needed 150. You guys are about 27 short. Hit that like button so we can give away a piece of gear and get Big T's Big Butt over there to FedEx and ship it out for you. So 27 more likes. We'll pick somebody, get a piece of gear. 2 more games left. So we have the Clippers and the Jazz, total 221. Clippers favored by 3.5. Jazz on a back-to-back. Kawhi's back for the Clippers. This is a game. Man, I have no interest in the Clippers side. I do not like this spot at all for fantasy on the Clippers side. So I'm going to definitely be off the Clippers. On the Jazz side, Donovan Mitchell's cheap on DK at 6.8K. I think he's in play. I think Gobert maybe a little bit, but that is it, man. Like I said, I'm not playing any Clippers. Donovan Mitchell as a price point play, maybe Gobert. Are you seeing anything else here?
I mean, I think this Clippers team is different with Ibaka down there at the 5. He's been kind of owning opposing centers. I know he just manhandled Nurkic. I mean, with the Blazers, they're playing this isolation game right now, which could definitely be hurting Nurkic. But again, I mean, he didn't get anything done against him. So, I mean, I don't know if I can go to Gobert. I have a ton of interest in Donovan Mitchell. It's just like Jamal Murray. Like, he's underpriced. He's taking 22 shots a game. Actually, 3 straight games of 23 shots. Yeah. And that was against, the Suns last game, a slower-paced game. I think he's going to take a ton of shots. I think we could see like 25 shots from him tonight. And, it's a back-to-back. Who knows? Maybe we get late news. I mean, nothing's been reported, so we probably won't see it. But you never know, like if a Mike Conley sat or something like that. I think I'm going to be overweight on Donovan Mitchell here. It's a price thing. The spread's close. I think they're going to keep this game close. And I think, we kind of have yet to see him go off. I think they lose this game, but I think he keeps it close. And I think he puts up something like 30 plus real points and maybe gets us like 42 to 43 DraftKings points, which I think that's what I changed his projection to. I'm kind of high on him, and it's just volume based. I mean, if he goes 9 for 23 again or 8 for 23 again, he's not going to get it done. But if he goes 13 for 23, he's going to get it done for us. That's kind of what we need him to do.
Yeah, and the nice thing about playing him is it doesn't sacrifice much for your lineup. Like, you can still play some of these other studs. 6.8K is a very nice price tag. So, I definitely like that.
If he gets you, like, he's going to play 36, 37 minutes. If he gets you even like 32, you're not dead at 6.6K at all. We want 40 plus from him. And I think we're going to get it tonight. So I'm definitely going to be extremely overweight on him.
Yeah, I like that call. Anything else in this game before we get to the last one?
Just looking over my notes, I didn't like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard didn't make my player pool, and it's simple. It's because I like Kevin Durant and I like Kyrie. They're priced almost exactly the same. I prefer those guys. You could even throw like D'Lo and Bradley Beal into that list as well. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah. All right. Last game it's another good one. I mean, you got Portland, you have Golden State, the total 235.5. Portland favored by 3.5, and Draymond Green is back for the Warriors, and they need it. Their team has not looked very good so far this season. I think this will help their team overall. I think it will help Curry. The price on Curry has come up now. He's 9.6 on DK. He's 9.9 on FanDuel. He was kind of much cheaper than that for most of the season. And then on the other side, you have Damian Lillard, good price tag on FanDuel, 9.3. He's 9.8 on DK. The one other thing that kind of stands out to me in this game is Nurkic is kind of getting outplayed by Enes Kanter. Kanter's looked really good. Nurkic has looked pretty bad so far this season. That's something to monitor moving forward. Give me your overall take on this game. Any plays for you? Any core pieces potentially?
I mean, that's a good mention with Cantor. I mean, if you just think of it, the one area that you can attack this Warriors team is in the paint. I mean, Wiseman, I think he's going to end up being a really good player in this league, but he's a rookie. He's not very big. I mean, he's big, but he's not like big size-wise. You got to think like Nurkic or one of these guys will be able to kind of bully him down in the paint. But still, it's like – I keep going. Like I look at Nurkic and I'm like, man, 6.7. It's so cheap. I don't like how this Blazers team is playing right now. It's kind of like CJ McCollum is playing his one-on-one game. Damian Lillard is always playing as the kind of one-on-one game. They need to get back to that passing, finding the open guy. Maybe it's like Derek Jones in there. Like I know they have him in there for defense, but he doesn't do anything on offense.
No.
Like I almost like the team better when they had Carmelo in there. I know Carmelo, he bricks a ton of shots, but at least he stretches the court. No one's like this. You're not stretching the court with Derek Jones in there because no one's like worried about him shooting jumpers because he's not going to make them. So the other thing is like Robert Covington, he's not shooting enough. Like when he played for the Rockets, we saw him shooting a ton of threes. They need more of that from him too. You got to think that like Terry Stotts is going to make these adjustments, and this is a perfect spot to do that. And so when I look at this total, it opened at like 231. When I'm building my lineups and I'm heavily my exposure is heavy in the Wizards game, the Nets game. I look at this game, I'm like, man, it's going to go under-owned, and it for sure could be a hammer type game if we get a back and forth scoring environment where maybe Dame has a game, Nurkic goes off, maybe it's CJ McCollum. It's harder for me. Like I'm way more confident in those other spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it comes down from.
I think you nailed it with the Portland side. It's just been all one-on-one sort of stuff, and everyone else is kind of paying the price for it. Like Robert Covington, great defender. He'll get the steals, he'll get the blocks, but on the offensive end, he needs someone passing him the ball so he can knock down threes. Just not getting it with this team. Derek Jones, like you said, he just hasn't been a good fit. Nurkic, last season, ton of pick and roll stuff, a lot of easy baskets. Hasn't gotten any of that this season. Like I've watched a lot of these Portland games. Like it is the pick and roll with him and Dame, him and CJ, just not resulting in the easy baskets that we saw in the past. So yeah, the price looks good on Nurkic. I'm going to be out on him still. I need to see something more, and I need this offense to change a little bit, and just hasn't been the case. Real quick on the Warriors side, how do you think the return of Draymond Green impacts the rest of these guys?
Yeah, I think it's a boost to Curry. I mean, if you look at the shots Curry has been forced to take, they're all contested, long-range three-point shots. I think what Draymond does is he's another guy that's going to help facilitate the offense. He's not good on offense when if you think of just like as a scorer, but he's very good as far as like basketball IQ goes. So I think what he does is he'll really help to just get the ball moving. To find, an open Curry or Wiggins. I mean, Oubre's shot has been really bad. Wiggins is finally starting to step up a little bit. And, when you look at this Warriors roster, I don't know. I mean, it's not terrible. They should definitely be like, I don't know. I mean, I almost like the Warriors side tonight. I feel like the line is a little fishy. I want to see a game or two with Draymond in there. But you got to think that Wiseman, Draymond, Oubre, Wiggins, Curry, I mean, it's a pretty decent starting five. So I'm really interested to watch this game to see how they match up. I mean, I almost like lean on the under too. I'm too afraid to bet it because we could just see back and forth scoring. But I don't know. I'm not playing Draymond either because I don't think he's going to get the minutes. I think maybe he gets 25 to 27, and he's 6.1K on DraftKings, so I'm definitely off him.
Yeah, I mean, if he was in the 5K range, I mean, maybe a little bit of interest at 6.1. I'm not going there. His first game back, I'll take the wait-and-see approach on that one for sure. A few more likes, guys, and we'll give out some gear. I don't know if you're aware, but I mean, you're subbing in for Big T, and we've done this.
To the workbench play.
Yeah, so we've done the workbench.
What was the last one? Nurkic.
Nurkic, they have not gone well. So he's on a bad streak here. Actually, he picked Jokic a couple games ago, but I don't know if we can really give him the win on that. But it's a lot of pressure because, like I said, Big T, the results haven't been there. They will be there, but I'm going to give you a chance to redeem Big T and come up with the workbench play. One other thing before, so you think about that. I'm going to get the chat. We need a few more likes, guys. Come on, 148. Get to the 150. We'll give out gear. Everyone will be happy. Big T will go to FedEx. Make sure, as always, head on over to Run Pure Sports if you're not a member. A lot of stuff there. A lot of new things for NBA. We have a new modified playbook, which AP does, gets it out nice and early, busts his ass, does it early in the morning, digs through every single game, a little write-up for every game, plays for every game. Very solid piece, a ranking system at the top. We have our new cash sheet, which can be used for cash games or GPPs. It's a positional breakdown with all the guys that Mangone and myself think are in play for cash games. We highlight the locks. A lot of people are liking it. So head on over to Run Pure Sports. Check it out. Like I said, it's an all-in-one price as well. $80 for all our DFS content, $100 for DFS and sports betting. So check it out. All right, the first ever AP workbench play of the day is.
So it has to be low owned, right? Or what's like what?
Yeah, it's got the criteria is it's got to be. It can't be like a chalky type play. It can't
like
be,
is Donovan Mitchell going to be chalky?
I think he'll be popular. I can't allow Donovan Mitchell. So it's got to be.
This guy will definitely not be chalky because of the position he's in. Malik Beasley, 5,800, going against the Wizards, shooting a ton. I think he could honestly potentially match someone like Donovan Mitchell, and you get $1,000 savings.
He's in a price range where I don't think a lot of people are going to go. That 5.8. So I think his ownership will be low. He's in that really, really good game. I like that call. I like Beasley.
I'll say 35 plus for Beasley tonight.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. And we got over the 150. So I am going to pick a person here to get some gear. That person is going to be Matthew Cohen. He said, imagine being a freeloader and not hitting the like and subscribe button. Hate to see it. Yeah, you do hate to see that. So Matthew Cohen, either hit up Big T or info at Run Pure Sports. We'll get you a piece of gear. It's important to hit the like button. It's important to hit the subscribe button. That's how we can continue to bring you guys these free shows. After us, we have Holden and JSU bringing us up to lock. That is a premium show. So head on over to Run Pure Sports to check that out. Any final words on the slate, AP, before we get on out of here?
No, I mean, honestly, it's one of those, just don't overthink it. Let other people overthink it. It's early in the season. If you just do that, usually you print. And that's why I like regular season NBA DFS.
Yeah, so fun. Such a fun DFS sport, such a fun sweat. So exciting, like going into the late games when you know you have good teams. It's just nothing really beats it. So, all right. For that, we're going to get on out of here. So for AP, Hoop, good luck to everyone in your contest. We'll be back tomorrow with more NBA content and our NFL content. We'll be going live for the weekend. So good luck to everyone tonight. We'll be back tomorrow.